5 years ago, I carried out a major revamp of my storage. From this to this, and in so doing, putting in place a system that I intend to stick to for the rest of my days. But you haven't, have you, Charlie? What went wrong? In the last 5 years, the system, which worked so well for a while, gradually started to break. And as I got more tools, I found myself increasingly dropping stuff to prioritise keeping the channel running. There's lots of reasons why this have happened, but I think the main point is my system ran out of capacity. And when you stop finding places to put stuff, you tend to just open the door and shove it through. And what's made matters worse, these days on YouTube, you're expected to be running an increasingly slick operation. I used to pride myself on not having a proper studio, a proper workshop, doing everything outside, pushing it in when the rain ran in until I got that portable pop-up workshop. But that just doesn't wash anymore. In recent videos, I'm sure I've put you off when you've seen chaotic scenes, for example in the garage when I was building my outdoor storage box. And when things are this chaotic, it can't help making you feel disorganised and out of control yourself, as I rather feel right now with my YouTube channel. But in today's video, I'm going to do my best to change all that whilst giving you a bit of an insight into what I think the most cost-effective storage solutions out there are. So yeah, I'm crying out for additional storage. The plan is to build a hulking, great big storage unit somewhere at the back of the garage there. And by moving stuff into it from the cellar, hopefully I can get that tidied up too. But what sort of unit do you put in that space? Well, it was 4.6 meters wide. And so the original plan was to go for 3 equal sort of width units, 80 centimeters deep, because I wanted extra space to store stuff. Now you saw that Big Doug stuff in my cellar, which was gifted to me back in the day, but I had a couple of problems with it. Firstly, there's a cost. For a Big Doug unit, the depth and strength I'm after, it's going to cost me 231 quid per bay. And remember, I need at least 3, and competitors like Machine Mart are even more expensive. And there's something else. The shelves on this admittedly lighter duty system are definitely bowing down in the middle, and as you can see, they haven't had a lot of weight on them over the years. And I've got to lower this shelf, so it means taking out all the panels to adjust them. And I've got to say, I'm finding it a little bit of a palaver to line up each individual metal strip. Avoid all this, and you save yourself a lot of money if you make the system yourself. Ow! Right, that is the last time I'm buying purpose-built metal shelving. Just hurt my finger. So, decision made, I'd build something myself that would be stronger, cheaper and totally bespoke. And so I ordered 16 2.4 metre lengths of 45 by 94 mil or 4 by 2, 11 3 metre lengths all regged and graded, and 4 sheets of 12 mil OSB for the total sum of £275. I then spent the rest of the week trying to make some space for the shelving, listing stuff on Facebook Marketplace and generally trying to be as ruthless as possible. A week in and I finally had enough space cleared to get started. So I had a cunning plan. The 2.4 metre lengths would work well for the uprights, and the 3 metre lengths would divide up nicely for the fronts and sides of each shelf. And those 2.4 metre OSB sheets divide really nicely into 3 for the shelves. And so after making a few initial cuts, I thought I'd proudly announce this new plan to the Patreon members on my Discord forum. What was I thinking?
Charlie, stop! You're going to waste loads of space like that! Check out how Studpack did it in his video!
What Andy was referring to was Paul from Studpack's video on how you should really be thinking about what you're storing and customise your storage to that, rather than just create a load of regimented equal-spaced shelving units. I don't know whether to laugh or cry. Now my response to that was, I don't need customisable bays because I haven't really got any plans to put storage baskets to put bins in. It's more about being able to move the shelves up and down. And then I watched the video and I thought, oh no, what have you done? I was just about to start doing this and you've given me a much better idea. This is why this DIY thing is so fantastic. And this is why I love my members forum. They're all more talented than I am, and I've learned so much over the years from their brilliant advice. Now, Paul had partitions that he fixed into the ceiling. My problem is I can't go up and can't fix into the ceiling because I'm going to have to insulate the in between the roof joists at some point because I want to do something upstairs. So I thought, what if I take one of the 3 meter lengths, which I was going to cut down for my shelves, and I've got at least 4 of these, and construct myself a box effectively sort of underneath this steel. And then once I've got myself a frame, like in that American video, I've then got a fully customizable framework that I can move things around in. So that is the plan. So armed with a pack of 6x100mm screws, I set about screwing the 4 corners of the frame together. Decided to pilot all the screw holes to make it easier and use this Perspex jig to get the holes in roughly the right place. And with one frame up, I could duplicate the process for the second. And to anchor the 2 frames the correct distance apart, I added 4 cross pieces which I pocket hole drilled and screwed, as this seemed a good way of fixing them, particularly next to the fridge where I wouldn't have had the space to screw through from the other side of the main frame. Full details of all the kit used will be in the description below the video. Yeah, I've just done something a bit dumb. When have you heard me say that before? This needs to be turned that way so it's load bearing because this will be a top shelf. So I just need to quickly change that, it won't take me long. Probably worth doing, but actually you'll get plenty of support from the internal vertical sections anyway. I attached the bottom braces above the ground as I had decided to store all my wood offcuts on the floor and wanted to maximise the width of this area as some sections of the wood are quite long. Pulls that in beautifully, doesn't it? Next up, I thought I'd put the top shelf in, and for this I used a sheet of OSB that's been outside for months. And most recently was a mixing deck for the lime plaster on my external rendering job. Fabulous stuff, this OSB, so durable. Can't get many nails in here, but what I really like, your design is going to be very different to mine obviously, but the peculiarity here of having to fit this around the steel I'm really pleased with, because by nailing down the OSB on the top, which is sandwiched at each side of the steel, it's not going to move left or right, and it also can't move tip forward because the steel's stopping it. I've got the spirit level wedge between the top of the underside of the steel and my drill, because that applies a continuous pressure. My drill's on low speed, decent drill bit for my trend set, and I'm just going to slowly drill through this steel so I can put a screw in here to completely anchor my storage in position. Before I did this, I'm only applying a little bit of pressure, but before I did this I was really struggling. I'm about 3/4 of the way through it now. I'm through. And there you go, guys. That's how to drill through steel. There we go, that'll do. And the last step I did was to put some noggins in to support the OSB around the steel, and to provide support under the main shelf with, you've guessed it, pocket holes at the back. Time for the internal partitions, more pocket holes, and because the internal partitions are the full height of the storage unit, I've got the jig on the floor now to drill the holes. And what I've done is I've pocket holed this both sides so that it can't move. And remember, the beauty of these partitions is they can be moved from side to side at any time in the future as your storage needs change. And at the top I had a small piece to take out with my handsaw, don't use that so much these days, so I could inlay the partition behind the top horizontal frame section. Now let's talk shelves. StudPak's design is dependent on the strength of the ply, particularly at this point, although admittedly it is supported by the 4x2 beneath, because he's got each shelf open at the sides. Fair play to him, it's a neat design. However, in the UK, a good bit of birch ply or similar costs an absolute fortune. And remember here, I'm using 12mm OSB, which is lovely and cheap but wouldn't be strong enough to do what he did. So I decided to do something slightly different. Considering how much I bought was comparatively cheap, I decided I was going to make the entire shelf out of 4x2. That way we've got structural integrity in the shelf and we can move it up or down as we require, and I'll show you in a minute what I did to support it inside the partitions. Step 1. Cut 2 pieces for the front and back of the shelf. 1220mm wide. Step 2. Cut 3 7-10mm long pieces for the sides and central noggin. And then it's important you look confused. Step 3. Pilot the screw holes. And then drive home your screws. Impact driver recommended. And if you've got an MFT table, there's a link to how I built mine on screen now. A couple of path dogs give you something firm to push against when you're screwing it all together. Step 5. Perform a ridiculous manoeuvre to get the OSB sheet on the table because you can't be bothered to move your miter saw. Step 6. Measure or draw around your shelf and cut the OSB down its width using your circular saw and a straight edge. Here a spirit level clamps the surface because you can't be bothered to get your track saw out. Step 7. Nail the OSB down. I'm using my 16 gauge nail gun with 50mm nails, but normal nails and a hammer will be fine. And I've got to say the gun isn't quite powerful enough to drive all the way in, so I had to finish it off with my hammer anyway. Then repeat the process for all your other shelves. Now, because the strength is in the shelf itself, the supports for the shelf inside of the partition don't need to be particularly significant, and they don't need to stretch full width to the back. So I cut 40mm deep shelf supports from the offcuts, the full width of the partition uprights. And after piloting them, obviously, I clamped each to the upright and screwed them in place with 6x80mm screws. Not glued, because the whole point of this system is you can easily adjust the height by simply raising or lowering each shelf support. A momentous moment which admittedly should have happened days ago, but first shelf going in, and the storage unit's not properly constructed yet, but you're not worried about that. Slidey. Now it's got to decide whether that's the right height for the shelf, because of course these shelves are fully customizable. And at this point I decided it was time to tidy up my wood store. I decided to put this at the bottom. You might say it's not that accessible, but again the beauty of this system is I can just take out one shelf to access it. Right, now I can screw this in. I can screw in there because I thought I would lock in this vertical once I knew I'd got these 3 shelves in. Now, you're probably thinking, well, you're not confident enough in your measurements. No, this was much easier. But I suppose this is the acid test, isn't it? Ooh, look at that, bang on. And as I made the first 3 shelves in one batch, in a matter of minutes, all the shelves in the bay were in place. For some reason, this shelf is really twisted, so I'm going to anchor it down in a couple of places to take the twist out. I don't think I need screws for the rest of it, really. Good. And now for the real customization. Inspired by Paul's storage box stack, I decided to do my own and bought 4 102 litre boxes from Halfords for just £12 each. I can go this large because of my 800mm deep unit. Oh. Well, that doesn't really work, does it? Hanging on by his fingernails. So I cut and attached some full depth strips. Right, take 2. It's better, isn't it? What do we think about the size of these? Too thin? Yep, definitely too thin, Charlie. So I cut some deeper 2-inch strips from the offcuts, and take 3, I was finally happy. Just got to cut another 6 of those now. And if you haven't already got one, get yourself a laser level for Christmas because it makes your DIY effortless. Last one, guys. Yes! All that remained was to construct 3 more shelves for the remaining bay. These would be more square than rectangle, and again I customised the height of each to take the 3 remaining storage boxes I had lying around. And as you can see, I started packing the shelves so I could see exactly what height they needed to be. And then it was just a question of filling up all the shelves and boxes, and what was really satisfying is I managed to stack all the insulation left over from the kitchen renovation under the staircase. I just can't bring myself to throw this away as I'll be needing it, and rock wool is forever going up in price. So there you have it, we're done, and just look at this space I've got. Now, because the weather was so foul pretty much throughout the build, I wasn't able to clear everything out of the garage and then only bring it back in what I wanted to. So I had to put a lot of stuff upstairs and move a lot of stuff over to this corner of the room. But that storage unit has taken back everything. The upstairs is now pretty much clear, bar a few more things I need to sell. And this area down here is also looking pretty good. Although I've got a few things in this corner I need to somehow get rid of, sheets of MDF, plasterboard and all that sort of stuff before I can build my little workshop studio. I use this top shelf for more wood storage, and I've got an entire storage box completely empty at the moment. Might put dust sheets in there from the cellar. And that is the next point I need to mention. Don't click away just yet because we've still got a problem. Okay, so I think the storage space in the garage has been a lot of success in clearing out the room. There's still a lot of work to do, mind. But what it hasn't done is relieve pressure on the cellar, which was the original point of this video. So I've got another plan. I'm ashamed to show you this. This is the shed at the bottom of the garden. And what I'm planning to do is clear it out and put some racking there, which I can put all the paint from the cellar into, which will basically be the last step I need to take to properly sort the cellar out. Probably not ideal keeping paint in a shed like this, but how many of us have paint in centrally heated rooms? And armed with my new method of making storage, the plan is to reuse this old timber that's been sat outside the garage and which used to be in the ceiling before our kitchen renovation works. I want these shelves to be as long as possible for reasons I'll come on to. So I am measuring the shortest one of these, and that is what I'll cut everything to, 168, with the short sections making up the sides and central noggins. And it will come as no surprise to you that I made these exactly the same way as I did the previous ones, with a couple of noggins to bridge the cuts in the OSB where I was using up the old offcuts. Oh, these shelves are heavy! Although this time I had the side pieces going the full depth to maximise the length of each shelf. I had 3 4x2s left over and this old larger section that was outside and would do the job fine. As you can see from my breath, it's brutally cold today. And I've got, according to the weather app, until 3 p.m. to get this room emptied, the new storage in and stacked up before it rains. So, got a lot to do. I don't know how I'm going to do it in this weather, but let's crack on. And if nothing else, at least the work I was doing was physical, which kept me warm. I mean, what a lot of clutter. These are seriously heavy. And with the clock ticking and the rain on the horizon, all I could do was knuckle down and get it built as quickly as possible. But this system does go together surprisingly quickly once you have a plan. Start screwing these shelves in from the outside and then thought, what am I doing? That's not the way I've been doing this. So I've gone back to my little process of having the wedges. And what I love about this is they're easy to fix in place because you just clamp the wedge before you screw it in. And if you need to adjust the shelves, as you probably will want to, when you take the screws out, there's only a tiny pinprick on the surface. So no damage to the system. So last shelf going in. Also, it's really easy to construct single-handed, which, as you know, is the way I generally do most of my jobs. And if one of the shelves is a bit tight when you're slotting it in, you can just undo the screws at the top till it's in and then screw it back together, which firms everything up nicely. Right, had a cunning plan. Paint pots, large and small, are going on this second shelf. So, cunning plan, I'm putting a little lip all the way around the edge to stop anything falling off. And by now this whole storage system was pretty heavy, so I used my 3-wheel casters to manoeuvre it into position. These are fast becoming one of the best things I've ever bought. And just creating that extra bit of storage and decanting all of this stuff from the cellar has enabled me to transform these spaces into something I can be slightly proud of again. The boiler is now fully accessible again, which is just as well because I've got a pretty cool project coming up for you soon. I've got a load of redundant paint tins to take to the tip, and these media cables and temporary water pipe from our temporary kitchen during the kitchen renovation can now be taken away because I've got space to access them. So that's it, I'm finally done, and if you brave the whole video and you're still with me, I can't thank you enough. I've written a few things down about what I wanted to say in summary today. And the first one is just do it. And what I mean by that is we prevaricate, we put off things like this, and it sits in the back of our minds as just a real chaos in our life that we're fundamentally unhappy about. I can't tell you how much more positive I feel as a result of getting these 3 different parts of my house, my garden, shed, garage, whatever, completely organised. And I think the positive impact for your mental well-being are massive, and it's just a really good foundation now, a really good building block for me to start putting other things back into order that I've been slightly winging all these years. So please, if this is a job you've been thinking about doing, do it for me because you won't regret it. The second point I want to make is an obvious one. If you've been toying with getting some metal racking from one of these companies, again, don't buy some wood from your local timber merchants because it's cheaper, but also you can produce a completely bespoke system tailored to the exact storage needs that you've got. And the bespoke elements of this unit behind me are subtle, but they're very important. Great big storage box that I didn't want to lose. I've managed to make the shelf above it just high enough to accommodate it. And then we've got all these pictures up here, and every little part of this has been designed specifically for this stuff that I had lying about. We've got pictures over there that need to go on the wall. I've got books that need to go on a bookcase when I've finally built it. And so things are gonna start morphing and changing. But right now, I'm really pleased with this because it's been a great way to tidy up everything. And it goes without saying, you want to plan your system with the timber lengths you can get hold of in mind so you minimize wastage. Although considering I ended up with a solution that wasn't at all what I intended when I bought my wood, this is what I've got left, and I haven't really had that much wastage. So that is really it. If you've liked what you've seen today, it'd be great if you could give this video the thumbs up below. And if you're new to my channel, I can't tell you how much it would mean to have you subscribe. You can do that by clicking on the link here, and don't forget to click the bell notification icon so you get notified of all my future uploads. Hopefully see you next week.